We work across a broad range of disciplines, from illustration and design to art and printmaking and public art commissions. We've been working together for 10 or 12 years maybe.
Yeah, almost 12 years. Yeah, and I think what started out as a small design studio over time grew into more of a kind of broader art practice.
We studied graphic design originally, and we had started working as graphic designers separately in different places, and then around 2010 we started working together and just a few things on the side, and slowly that's how it kind of developed.
We're from Cashel in Tipperary.
A big influence.
Yeah, I don't know how that influences the work.
Like we grew up in a fairly working class background, working class family. Like when we were in school, it would have been like you were good at drawing, and like our family, like our siblings, would have been interested in art also. But the idea of going to art college, the idea of even going to college wasn't really a thing. I don't think anyone in any of our extended family ever went to college. And it was our older brother, he's a painter, he went to art college, and I suppose that paved the way for us to be able to go. So I don't think there's any I don't know if there's any direct influence. We would never have been in an art gallery or anything like. Just been into drawing probably more than anything, like a lot of kids I suppose.
In terms of the themes in our work, I think everything we do stems from something graphic, and that comes from our background in graphic design. Signs, symbols and pictograms come up a lot in our work. Banners, posters.
Some of the kind of the political or social themes, like you mentioned, even around climate change and things, a lot of that stuff comes from, there's kind of a mix with our project. We've got a kind of commercial side with editorial illustration. A lot of those ones we work with different political articles or social articles in The Economist, The Guardian, bunch in America as well. So like we might be doing something around climate change, or an article on greenwashing, or an article about Trump. A lot of that is what we're reading, these articles every day and doing illustrations, and then that kind of in a way filters into our artwork, where with the illustrations to be kind of quite direct with the imagery. And then we kind of try and subvert that and use the language in our own artwork then.
We have a large enough space on the north side of Cork City, and it's in a shared studio group in Sample Studios. I think there's over 30 members. Our room will be just two of us in one room every day, and kind of day to day we'll be working on editorial illustrations, and then between that we'll be working on larger projects, whether it's an exhibition of paintings or prints, or then we might be outside of the studio for working on public art pieces. We have quite a large room with high ceilings. It's pretty rough and ready like a lot of art studios, but there's a lot of space and you can make a lot of mess. I suppose because there's two of us working on everything together, there's a lot of dialogue over and back, and ideas kind of come from that dialogue. Sketching is quite important to us as well, and if we're working, whether it's an editorial illustration or a painting, the process is very similar. We'll just sit opposite each other and we'll have a sketchbook each, and we'll just talk and draw until something kind of develops on the page. Yeah, we go through a lot of sketchbooks as well, just drawing quick little thumbnail images and just writing things down. So just every day we're just sketching just quick little ideas, and they might not lead anywhere, but like in time then it's just like they'll slowly develop into something. Yeah, I think at the start when we finished college, our influences would have definitely been designers, say from the 50s and 60s, American poster artists like Paul Rand and Sol Bass, and then some more kind of absurd or obscure poster designers. Yeah, it's so broad. I don't know, like it's nearly more Instagram these days, isn't it? How your influence, it's like there's so many things you see. I barely even know the names. It's like you come across 10 different artists every day on Instagram. You're like, oh, that's cool, or you might save an image. I'd say now it's more even just conversations with people, or even comedians or TV, it could be anything. It still comes from poster designers, and that kind of aesthetic of poster design is always in the background. It's the most consistent, I'd say. Just signs, symbols and icons, and that minimal graphic forms in everything. But in terms of materials, it could be anything from, like we might make work on computer, we've painted on canvas, on large tarpaulins. Made prints, we've made stuff out of metal and wood and perspex, so it's more We try and let the project and the concept define the materials rather than vice versa.
We've done some paintings like on traditional canvas paintings, but I kind of like using canvas tarpaulin or cotton, like the material that tote bags are made out of. In a way, it's kind of nicer to paint on that because you don't have the history of the linen canvas and everything that goes with the history of painting. It feels more open, the possibilities of just using this kind of general materials like that. It's a series of 8 painted banners, I'd say. They're just simple black text. I think with some of the editorial illustrations that we were talking about, just before we started the piece, we were working on an illustration for The Guardian, and it was very much about greenwashing, I suppose, was it?
Yeah. Companies make climate promises and how they talk about climate change, but in reality then they're also trying to slow down progress. And
yeah, it's kind of these empty slogans we're kind of interested in, and as a way we see how these kind of companies are kind of reappropriating or appropriating the language of climate change and climate justice, using it basically to sell oil. And so the work, we want to display this language in very stark black text.
Almost like protest banners. So it's just 8 slogans and taglines used by 8 of the world's biggest polluters, but they could be used as climate change protest banners. So it's unusual that you could take the biggest polluters' own taglines and they work against them as well.
So in a way, I suppose we're trying to show the hypocrisy of this and the greenwashing and the kind of absurdity of it all, really.
Yeah, I think when people look at them, they feel very accessible straight away. They just look like generic climate change protest banners that you might see at any protest.
With a lot of our art, we like to make it use kind of very recognizable shapes, and then the more you get engaged with the work, you start to realize that there's something else going on.
Our art teacher in school would have been quite important, I think, at the start. And I think that's important to have a good art teacher who can encourage you. I suppose it's a privilege to be able to work as an artist.
It's not the most lucrative of careers, but it is a privileged thing to be able to stay doing it. It's difficult, it's competitive as well. I don't think people are aware of how competitive the art world is. We're lucky that we've managed to carve out a career working together. Having a kind of commercial side to our practice does help. It allows us that balance to be able to get paid to do like editorial illustration, and then that can feed into our own art practice as well. So
I think when you're talking about it being competitive, that's only in terms of opportunities, in terms of showing or funding can be difficult, but it's not competitive in terms of like the art community.
Yeah, I suppose there's a big social scene around being an artist as well. That's
really, really important and
maybe more important, is it?
Yeah.